Once driven by word of mouth, K-Beauty has now grown into a full-blown global phenomenon. And at the forefront of that movement is our guest on Talk Room today. She is Lauren Lee, founder and CEO of Style Story, Australia's first platform dedicated to K-Beauty. Lauren, welcome to Talk Room.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Now, I introduced you as the CEO and founder of Style Story, but that's not your only title, right? You have many, many hats. Care to explain the others?
Yeah, so that was where it all started, Style Story. That was my first business that I started back in 2014. And since then, we have, I guess, grown a lot. So we started out as a distributor, like you mentioned, Australia's first Korean beauty store. Today, we work more in the consulting space with global businesses looking to tap into Korea's beauty ecosystem, whether that be manufacturing, training, just learning what we do really well in the Korean beauty industry here. And I also run my own brand, Jellico, and of course I podcast at the Korean Beauty Show podcast as well.
Right, so very packed schedule. Maybe that's why I hear that you just came back from overseas just a couple of days ago.
2 days ago, in case you see some dark circles.
Do not, absolutely. Is that also, that packed schedule, maybe a sign of how busy you are, and that reflects how big in the world K-Beauty has become?
Honestly, if you had told me when I first started my business in 2014 that this is what it would become today, I would never have believed you. The growth we have seen even in the last 10 years is just phenomenal. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And were you meeting with maybe potential buyers or people who were consulting with entering in the Korean beauty business?
So I was actually just in Dubai. I attended the Beauty World Expo in Dubai and met with a lot of useful people. We're in some talks at the moment with retailers and distributors off the back of that. We actually opened a warehouse in Dubai last year as well so that we could service the UAE, which the Middle East is one of the fastest growing markets for Korean beauty at the moment.
Interesting, okay. So why do you think that Korean beauty has gained so much global popularity? I mean, obviously, you started it with the thinking that it would grow, but it seems to have really exploded in the past maybe 5 or so years. As a beauty expert, K-beauty expert, what do you think is behind that?
Look, I think in the beginning, the thing that attracted people to Korean beauty was that it was different to what was going on in the West. Certainly when I first discovered Korean beauty, which was back in 2011, there was just nothing like it on the market back in Australia. That was the reason I started bringing the products back. The quality, the packaging, the ingredients, and most importantly, the results. It was just something that you couldn't easily access. And I kind of saw a bit of a gap in the market for that in Australia. And I think people really fell in love with the philosophy, the idea that you would take care of your skin first rather than just caking on the makeup and covering up any flaws. That really took off with people in the beginning. I think that was what kind of kick-started it all. Yeah.
That's the beginning. What about now, though? I remember attending a global conference, and when they were talking about, this maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and they were talking about how the K-beauty industry really excels in creating sort of innovative products. So it's cosmetics, but with a twist, you know, the instant 15-second foam mask or something that you could do in the shower. So they put a unique and maybe fun spin on already manufactured products, and so people are eager to try it out after they see it on social media.
I've heard it described as skintertainment, and I think that's exactly right. It's just like a bit of a novelty factor there. Something. The other thing is, of course, when we started out as an industry, a lot of it was online. If you want to sell skincare to people online with them never having tried it, smelled it, or anything like that, you need that wow factor, something that draws people in and makes them take a chance. And that is what, as an industry, Korean beauty has really excelled at. Yeah.
So from skin-tertainment, is that how you said it?
Yeah.
Now we're seeing, what's it called? Care-rication, I believe. And that begins with a K. So it's care-cation. So it's basically, I just learned about this as well, but it's lots of foreigners who are interested in Korean beauty and interested in coming to Korea. And when they do come to Korea, they make it a point to schedule in appointments with skin or estheticians and getting their makeup done, or going to one of those big sort of brands where they could stock up on Korean items as well. Have you heard this term before?
Definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, I had someone on my podcast last year, and this is her business. She's a beauty concierge, and she arranges these kind of trips for foreigners, everything from medical health checks all the way through to plastic surgery, you know, clinical procedures, things like stem cells, all of these things that being done really well in America, but also the regulation is a bit further along compared to, say, America or whatnot. So this is a huge trend at the moment, yeah.
So would it be safe to say that K-beauty has gone from maybe just like fun, inexpensive cosmetics to sort of like a more holistic, maybe well-being kind of experience or even culture?
For sure, absolutely, yes. I think it's a whole beauty and wellness ecosystem, like I said. Like the kinds of people that I'm working with today, they're not just wanting to make, you know, skincare and cosmetics. They're doing things for clinics. They want to make supplements. Every kind of thing that is trending in Korea from overseas are interested in this. How can I do this myself? How can I try this? Where can I buy this? The whole ecosystem has just become a giant juggernaut, I think, yeah.
So there are these very fun, innovative products. What do you think is probably the most defining innovation? I'm not sure you can just pick one, maybe top three then.
That's like asking a mother to choose her favorite child. I don't know, I feel like the BB cream really was innovative for its time. The BB cushion, if you want to roll those two in together. The next format or category, masks, I guess.
The sheet masks, of course.
Sheet masks really caused a big sensation overseas. Sleeping masks, lip masks, this whole sort of idea of doing different masks. And then a third one, I wouldn't say it's necessarily novel or new, but something that K-beauty is really leading with is sunscreen technology.
Oh, interesting.
Particularly compared to what we're seeing in the rest of the world. And a lot of that comes down to regulation. For example, the FDA is very, very behind in approving sunscreen filters. So there are far fewer options open to Americans. Australia, it's kind of similar, a bit further along, but a lot of restrictions around bringing new sunscreen products to the market, which means not as much choice. Whereas I guess in Korea, we have a lot more options open, and that has meant that there are a lot more wearables, they're a lot more cosmetically elegant as a category here in Korea compared to overseas.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It seems like you have always been interested in cosmetics, and maybe K-beauty too. You were early, you caught on to the potential of it.
Yeah.
How would you, and you started the first platform, of course, in K-beauty. How did that journey begin then?
That's a great question.
Do you remember back when you first sort of experienced K-beauty?
Yeah, I do. I was studying. I was on exchange. I was doing the last semester of my law degree at Yonsei-daehakyo.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And I was there for 4 months. And like you do, you bring over your skincare products, your makeup products, and if you're going on a longer trip, they tend to run out, right? So I was like, okay, I'm all out. I'm going to have to look around and see what I can get here. And the more I looked, the more I was like, what is this? There are literally like tens of different stores. I've never heard of a single one of them, and they're all like their own worlds, you know, and it blew my mind.
It's like a playground, right? They're all different playgrounds.
Like I remember one of the ones that I came across was the face shop, and I remember thinking, I didn't know the Body Shop had a face shop. And then when I looked into it, I was like, this is all Korean. Like, how does no one know about this? And same with lots of different brands. So it was just through sampling and trying things that it was like, I felt like Alice falling down the rabbit hole. It was like this whole world. And I was like, this is amazing. I want to stay here.
But you experienced that when you were a student and you were just here for 4 months. Then you went back home, and Australia, of course, has some great brands too, globally renowned brands.
Now it does.
I see. And back then it wasn't so much?
It wasn't as much. I mean, Australia has categories that we have always done very well, like body sunscreen. You know, sunscreen generally, Australia is known for botanicals, natural, using a lot of natural things. This was a very long time ago. It was pre-Instagram. So it was before the days where people used to take photos of their skincare products. I took a whole suitcase full of Korean beauty products back to Australia, and it was Christmas time, so I gifted them to everyone. I gifted them to people, and without fail, one by one, 2 months later when they ran out, they came back and were like, right, so that was the best thing I've ever used. Where are we getting more of it? And that's how it all started.
Let's go back to Australia being open to Korean cosmetics, because obviously we have different climate, different amount of sunshine, different skin types.
Sure.
Are you not surprised at all that Korean cosmetics suited you or work so well on you and other people's skin as well?
Look, there's no doubt that I think we have a lot of cosmetics here in Korea that are perfect for the issues that we have, things like pollution, dryness, for example, right now in winter. But I always kind of rejected the idea that Korean skincare was made for Korean skin. I didn't really find that. A lot of Australians in the beginning would ask, oh, well, I'm not Asian, can I use it? So I think there was a little bit of this mindset, but at the end of the day, skin is skin. There are skincare products for all different types of skin, for different ages of skin. It's really more about finding what works for you rather than a whole category suiting a type of race, one race or the other. That's how I kind of always saw it. So for me, it was more about matching the product to the person and their skin rather than,
So that was quite surprising to see that I heard Australia is actually the first market outside of Korea that spends the most on Korean cosmetics.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Literally crazy. When I saw that statistic last year, my mind was blown.
You did not know this, and it wasn't the case when you first started, right?
Absolutely not. No. It literally blew my mind when I heard it. Because obviously when you look at all the export statistics, it's a little bit different. America being the #1 country at the moment for export, but per capita, and of course Australia's population is much, much smaller than the US, but outside Korea,
So who are the main consumers?
In terms of the countries that are being exported to, America has now become #1. Japan is a big consumer. Southeast Asia, there are countries in Southeast Asia that buy a lot of Korean beauty products. The Middle East is very up and coming. Canada is another one, and Europe. Countries in Western Europe as well are really getting in on K-beauty. So,
Aside from the innovation part, I think it helps also that a lot of these products, even global brands, they were made in Korea, right? A lot of the OEM were happening here in Korea. So the Made in Korea label is also a big benefit.
Definitely.
Serving the K industry.
And this is something that I work with a lot with my consultancy clients. A lot of them are thinking about moving from another country to Korea, and that's the conversation they're having. You know, does Made in Korea make sense? What is it going to look like to shift production from another country to Korea? And, you know, obviously for the beauty industry, there is no denying that having that on the back really makes a huge difference. It's just that instant recognition of quality.
And yet, Made in Korea label is kind of globally recognized and maybe sort of prized as well. And yet, compared to its global renown, we don't have as many global Korean makeup brands or cosmetics brands that are as well known as, you know, the big French ones or maybe even the Japanese ones. Would you agree with that, or is it just kind of that's something that's been pointed out by some Korean media outlets?
Yeah, I think that's partly true. It does depend on the market. There are markets in which Korean makeup, particularly lip tints and things like that, really excel, and they're #1 in the market. Obviously, in terms of colour cosmetics for the face, you run into the issue that in a lot of countries, they've got people of all different skin tones and colours. So that's the same in the Middle East, in Australia, in America. And if you can't really cater to all of them, that is seen as kind of a setback or a drawback, and it can even cause issues with marketing as well. So I think that has been a bigger roadblock. A lot of brands, particularly makeup brands, it's expensive. The more shades you have, the more product you're making. And if you're starting here in Korea, it doesn't make sense to have 30 different shades. But if you want to export, that's kind of where you need to get to. So I think skincare has been an easier in for a lot of brands compared to makeup for that reason. Lip tint and whatnot, maybe a little bit different, but colour cosmetics, the base kind of ones, maybe not as strong as some of the historical Western ones.
For sure. But like you said, Korean skincare or Korean beauty in general seems to focus on skin right?
Right.
Just the basic skin sort of products. And in that respect, it doesn't matter on your skin tone or whatnot. Do you think that they can do something, or what would your advice be to these brands so that they can kind of develop the loyal, sort of strong base no matter where they export to?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I've noticed that Korean brands do differently to Western brands that impedes their growth, I think there is a very different way that you need to approach the domestic Korean market as opposed to a global market. So Korea, as you know, is very trend-driven, and so it's about newness. What's the new thing? And brands that are trying to capture the domestic market often will cycle through new products really, really quickly to try and, keep up with the latest. That's not how global consumers consume products over the long term. In the short term, yes, but long term, no. So the brands that tend to do well overseas are specifically targeting a global consumer, and they will have a hero SKU, they will have a strong brand story that's not tied to X, Y, or Z trend. It's tied to the founder or the brand itself. You need to have a much longer way of thinking, like 5-10 years in the future, not just the next 2. Right. And I think that's the gap between the brands that service the global market very well versus the brands that do well domestically in Korea.
More so probably because of your personal background, right? You didn't, despite your love of beauty products and especially K-Beauty, you actually have a background as a lawyer, and even in Korea, when you first came to work here, you were working as a lawyer. You're one of the first Australian lawyers to work in Korea as a foreign legal consultant. Is
That's
that
right. I was the 7th.
Yeah. The 7th. Lucky 7.
Lucky 7, that's my lucky number. Yes, I was. So I worked in Australia. Actually started working in law firms straight out of school, actually. I was a paralegal, working in law firms throughout my degree, and then I graduated. I worked in Australia as a lawyer. I was a corporate litigator. And then our law firm opened a branch here in Seoul. Yeah.
So that's how you came to Korea.
That's how I came to Korea in the first place.
Not because of K-Beauty.
No. So my business at that time was a side hustle.
I see.
Yeah, it was.
So you had already started it by then?
I'd already started it, yes, but it was just something I did in my spare time. It was kind of like a passion project. So yeah, I was doing that late at night, early mornings, on the weekend as kind of like a way to get away from the seriousness of law, to be honest. It can be a bit dry.
Right.
So this was like my passion project that I was really interested in.
So when did the side hustle or a passion project become your main?
My main hustle?
Your main job.
So that would have been 2018. I think I saw the potential of the business. It was doing well, even though I was in a different country from my business. So I hired my cousin, actually, in Australia to help pick and pack the orders. And then it got to the point where she could no longer do it herself. There were too many orders. We had to go into a professional warehouse. And so I guess in the back of my mind, I could see that this industry was really taking off. So let's try this thing that's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And yeah, I just never looked back.
Never looked back. So obviously your legal background helped, but did you face a lot of difficulties as a foreigner setting up a business here in Korea?
It's definitely not easy to set up a business in Korea as a foreigner. I think that's, a given. There are a lot of obstacles on the immigration side, and then also just practically doing everything for the first time in a foreign language is not very easy. There are resources available, but I think it's probably on the harder side of things I've tried to do.
But you learned fast, and your Korean has improved very much radically over the past couple of years as well. But I hear that whenever things get too tough for you and too hectic, there are some certain places that you like to go to unwind. So we have some footage of that. Let's take a look and then return to our conversation. Those beautiful places like Yangpyeong and Namyangju, I think maybe as well, those are places that I like to go to as well. And the samgyeopsal, that's what I like to eat. Very Korean.
I just fell in love with it instantly. Like I still remember my first Chuseok, it would have been out in the mountains, and just like the sense of peace and serenity that came over me. Even looking at the mountains, like looking out a window and seeing the mountains, it's like healing for me.
What is it about Korean mountains? Does it remind you of home? Brisbane, Australia, I'm not sure.
Not at
I've never
all.
been, so many mountains there?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm like, maybe I was Korean in a past life.
Could be.
And I'm like remembering, I don't know. All I need to do is look at it, and I just feel very, very grounded. Like being in the mountains in Korea, there's something magical about them.
Yes.
In a way that the Australian outback, it just seems very barren to me, but like it's like the mountains are alive here in a way. Yeah, that's the difference.
So you get recharged by going out into the
Definitely.
mountains.
I'm constantly bugging my husband. I'm like, come on, let's go. And he's like, oh, but the traffic.
And you brought your daughter, beautiful little daughter. How old is she?
I have two.
Oh, you have two? Okay.
I have two. My eldest is about to turn 5, and my littlest, my youngest, is about to turn 2.
Okay, so they're still a little young, maybe not to be interested in cosmetics or what mommy's doing?
Well, they're pretty interested now, I would say. Yes, I think my eldest has just started to understand the concept that mummy makes skincare products, and she's asking me, but how do we do that? So I said...
Wait a minute, she's asking you, how do you do that? Instead of, let me try all these samples or whatever you have lying around.
She's already tried a lot of samples. She's been like trying to apply lipstick and lip gloss since she was like, I don't know, 12, 14 months old maybe. But yeah, now she's asking the why questions. So I think we might have to take her out to the factory one time.
Definitely. It could be maybe a family business and eventually as well, right?
Who knows?
So that's where you recharge as Lauren Lee, the person, as a sort of entrepreneur, a K-beauty entrepreneur. Is there a different way or a different source of strength for you when you do feel the need to recharge?
For me, I think just being near nature is the number one thing that makes me feel a little bit more reset. Like I love Seoul, I love the energy, but sometimes if you're feeling stressed, it is a little overwhelming. So just leaving, getting away for a bit, calming down, I feel like that's what it is for me. Yeah.
Looking back on your journey so far, was there a moment where you think to yourself, I really did a good thing by coming to Korea, or maybe it was the moment that you decided to stay here and set up business here? Is that there was sort of a certain point in your life where you kind of look back and you said, good choice, Lauren?
I don't know, sometimes I find myself, especially if I'm alone, like at night in the car going somewhere, and I'm like, I cannot believe I live here. Like, what am I doing here? This Australian from like Brisbane living in this country. But it just like over time became home. I can't describe it any other way. Like I land at Incheon Airport and I'm like, oh,
you feel like
God,
home.
I'm home. That's what I feel like. So that's how I know I'm in the right place. I feel like Korea and I just kind of like became one at some point.
So what's ahead for you, Lauren, in terms of maybe personal, but also your business? Where do you see yourself going in maybe the next 5 or 10 years?
Great question. I think for me, the work that I'm doing at the moment, particularly connecting foreigners abroad with the Korean beauty ecosystem here, I find very rewarding. I also love to learn all of the different ways that foreigners, like I've worked with people from Saudi Arabia, from France, from America, like all over the world, hearing what they're doing and what they want to build using things that this industry has built up is really exciting to me. So I'd like to do that. I'm really hoping that we can grow our brand in some bigger retailers. That's one of my goals. And then also just to spend more time with my girls because they're growing up really quickly.
They do.
Yeah.
So fast. Well, we wish you the best of luck. And judging from your past journey, I'm sure that you will continue to do really well. So thank you, Lauren.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Lauren Lee saw the potential of K-beauty long before it actually became a global phenomenon, and we look forward to what she does next. Thank you once again, Lauren, for coming on Talk Room.
Thank you very much.
All right. Best of luck.